Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish.
And we came in from trick-or-treating like an hour and a half early because
Yep.
it started snowing.
It literally was snowing.
It was like a whiteout.
It was crazy.
What?
And we were all bundled up out there.
Yeah.
And there was snow in our hair.
Literally, so now our hair is all like
Yeah.
wavy.
But we are unveiling our costume.
I know. Oh, yeah.
We are Paris and Nicole, a la The Simple Life. So we'll post our pictures at some point so you can see them.
Hopefully they're okay because again it was like 30 degrees.
Yeah, and I was looking at the pictures and you can see the snow.
Really? Oh my gosh.
So you'll see that there is snow flying in the photos.
Gosh.
But you know what?
Whatever.
There's nothing we can do about
I
it.
know.
So,
Anyway, that was a bust.
yeah, that was a bust. I really only saw like the one American Psycho costume that I thought was the coolest.
Yeah, that one was cool. I feel like there was a really pretty princess costume.
Oh yeah.
But all the kids had the winter shorts.
I
the
know.
winter coats on. Winter coats on, like sweatpants under their costumes.
Literal snowsuits out here.
Because we love looking at all the kids' costumes.
I know, it's fun.
Freaking
Remember when you would be younger too and the worst was when you'd have to put your winter coat on
Yeah.
over, and you're
Like,
so mad. You're like,
no.
no, I can just go out. And your parents are like, it's
Oh,
cold.
you have. I remember I had this one like cowgirl costume that was like literally Dolly Parton, like bedazzled everything.
That's
and
cute.
I had to put a coat on over it, and I remember fighting about it. I was
I
like,
know.
no.
Well, remember we used to be able to wear our costumes to school?
Mhm.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Even in high school.
Yeah, I was
they
gonna
let
say,
us.
what we were Powerpuff Girls before?
Yeah,
Or cowboys or cowgirls, football players.
Oh yeah, football players. Wonder what we were the other year. I don't even remember.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Yeah,
They
maybe
were
we
too cool.
didn't. Yeah. Our cowgirls one was funny.
I remember, he's my neighbor now. He was like, what are you guys, hookers? We didn't even look like hookers.
We were at a Catholic school.
I know. And I feel like it probably, I just don't think it was like
Wouldn't that have been funny if we did dress up as hookers?
I know. But they sent us home. It's like nobody said anything.
No,
Teachers
we
didn't
didn't.
say anything, so it must not have been.
I'm pretty sure we had plaid shirts on.
Yeah.
And we had cowboy boots.
Yeah, I
and-
remember that. And like shorts.
Yeah. But I don't even remember the shorts being
Like
short.
hookery.
Yeah. Whatever. He always gave us a hard
I
time
know.
for no reason.
Mr. Dad jokes.
Yes. He's funny. Yeah, no, he lives across the street. If you're listening, shout out. Yeah. Well, should we recap some celebrity Halloween
Yeah.
costumes?
I noticed a lot of influencers dressed as Hailey Bieber and Justin
Yeah.
Justin Bieber.
That would have been interesting.
And so, but I was like thinking about, just not to go off topic, you know when Justin Bieber like looked like not
Mad?
dressed up,
Yeah.
for Hailey Bieber's like lip, the strawberry.
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And like he just had that like sweatshirt on and the hat over the sweatshirt.
It didn't even, the outfit didn't even make sense.
No, and it was like, come on. It literally
I know.
looked like, I don't even know he rolled out of bed. And, like,
I know.
and I know he like kind of dresses like that anyway, but it does look like funny when she's that dressed up and he isn't. And then I think she just said something about it and she's
Yeah, like I can't
well,
control.
Yeah. It's like,
But you know
wow.
what? I wonder, do you think it could be like a marketing scheme?
Could
Like,
be.
look how many people were talking about
I
that.
know, right? And they were really talking about the whole event because
Yeah.
of that. They're like, how could he go to her perfect
Right.
lip juicy things?
Yeah.
What are they called?
I don't even
Lip
know what they're
juicies.
called. And she's all dressed up, and this is something she's worked hard for, and he can't even dress up. I'm like, maybe they have
Now that
something.
you're saying it. That was was a good idea.
I know. His outfit was funny though.
It was like so laid back.
I know. It's a good costume, but sometimes it kind of annoys me when, like, I don't know, this could just be me being, like, stupid. But when, like, people, it's a lot of times, like, influencer parents will dress their small children up as, like, Justin and Haley, for example. It's like, why?
Right.
Like, do you just think it's funny?
Like, right, and it's, like, such a moment in time where, like, if the kids are looking back on those pictures, they're like, who was I? Haley, who? Justin what?
Like, why can't you just, it's clearly for you. Why can't you just dress up your kid as a hedgehog? Or, you know, Bluey. Something that they actually like. Or I saw somebody dress their little daughter up as Ariana. In the red dress. I'm like, why?
That one's kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it wasn't like
revealing.
Yeah, but it was just like, I don't understand.
Such like, I know, it's like such a time stamp on life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And it's just, I think it's different than dressing your kid up as like a movie character that you like or something, because
it's like it withstands the test of time.
Or like, I don't know, when it's an influencer thing, it's like, okay, clearly that kid doesn't have any idea. It's just weird. But who else? We mentioned it to each other. It was nice to see MGK and Megan Fox out and about.
Did you see that she tagged like SAG-AFTRA?
Oh, I didn't know that she tagged.
Yeah, she like added them.
That's where I saw that there was like blowback. But she tagged them first.
I don't know if she tagged them first or if she was getting like comments
and then she just
like,
tagged them. I thought it was ridiculous that they even put that out.
I know, and that they weren't allowed to dress up as people, because then I saw, was it Kelsey Ballerini? And Chase Stokes, and he wasn't dressed up because of like what, or I guess you'd assume he's not dressed up because of the strike, but it's like, dude, come on.
It's so silly. It's like, what does that do for the cause?
Literally.
Nothing.
It's like, oh, I can't be. I know, I thought that was dumb, but I thought that was funny. That
she tagged him. I didn't know she tagged him. I love how much they love Halloween.
I know, and they had such cool costumes. I mean, I'm not like into anime.
Me either, but they looked great.
They really did. And they just go all out.
I know. That's what I was telling my coworker today. I'm like, I wish that I was like a celebrity or at least rich, where I could just go all out on my costumes, get someone to come in and do the makeup and the hair, and get a great costume that's like a replica, and then I'd also have like a fabulous party to go to. Because like, I'm not getting invited to Heidi Klum's.
Or even if we did have like a really cool party to go to, it's like we just can't like get on that level of costume.
No, I know.
But then there was like other people, like I thought Zoe Kravitz looked cute as Rosemary's
Baby. I thought that
because it was Rosemary's Baby.
I know, but it was.
But it was so. Little... That's what I was gonna say. Like that was so like half effort. Yeah. And it's like I don't even think that's what the baby looked like in Rosemary.
No, and it was
its eyes. Like, what did you do to its eyes? Sorry. Anyway,
we digress. It was just like you're a grown man.
I know.
Like, I just don't think that's funny. You know,
I didn't think it was funny, especially because she looked like really cute.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who. I actually didn't see that. I don't know if a lot of celebrities didn't do.
Maybe some of them are posting today though too.
Oh, that.
I did see Kim Kardashian and North.
Yeah.
Did you see where Cher and Dion?
That one was really cute. I also saw that North did the Cheetah Girls.
Oh, I saw North be Kanye.
Yeah,
too,
I saw that. She's been like dressing up for like 5 days, but that one was cute.
I didn't see the Cheetah Girls.
It was so cute, and Penelope was there, and then it was like 2 other friends.
Little friends. That is a cute one.
It was so cute.
And then Courtney was Kim.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like we still hate each other. So
I know if it was like satire.
Yeah.
But I actually did laugh when I saw that. I'm like,
she actually looked a lot like Kim with
I
her.
know she did. Sometimes those two, like if they try to look like each other, really do. I feel like more when they were younger though.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, yeah, she did look like Kim.
Yeah, she really did. It was like creepy how much they looked alike.
Like, oh, they are
I'm
sisters.
sorry. I loved that look at the Met Gala.
I know it was. I know. I feel like, and it was just mean because she was pregnant, so everyone was being so mean about.
And it was her first one.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I think it was.
I mean, I thought she looked
like she
great.
had a carpet on. It's like, dude, shut up.
I know. I will stand by that. Like, it was a great dress. I wonder if she borrowed Kim's.
I know. I wondered that too because I didn't remember the slit, and I was like, oh, she tried to make it look more. And then when I saw them compared to each other, I was like, oh, there was a slit the whole time.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was the same.
So maybe they are on
It's
speaking
like-
terms. I'm trying to think. Oh, I saw I didn't look before we started filming, but I saw like a preview of Heidi Klum's. She was like a alien type thing. She just always goes all out.
I know,
think
she liked it.
Was it last year? The year she was a worm?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I know, she was rolling around.
And it's so funny because she's so beautiful.
I know, and I literally love that she just doesn't care about being hot.
Yeah, and she just loves Halloween and goes all in.
Where she's like, she's been so many different things.
I know.
It's iconic.
It really is.
I saw Travis and Courtney wear Beetlejuice and Lydia.
Oh, yeah.
Don't they have another costume too?
I can't remember. I feel like some costumes I see though, like get so overdone.
I know, like it literally looked like The Weeknd and Bella Hadid.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot of that, like copying.
Yeah.
Not that it's like
I know,
copying,
but
I guess.
still it's just, and like, who was it? Was it Tana Mojo that did?
Tana Mojo.
Tana
Yeah,
Mojo
did
that
the Christina.
Yeah, and I'm like,
I know, I thought that was weird too.
I'm sorry, but Kylie did it probably the best.
And I feel like she did the exact same costume that Kylie did, and I was like, I don't know, it just seemed like it hadn't been enough time.
Right, or just like, why? Like, you
Right.
could have chosen a different outfit.
Right, you could have did Christina Aguilera even like completely different.
Yeah, when somebody else does it literally so good, it's just weird that you would choose to do it.
I know, I thought there was kind of a lot of that this year. I'm trying to think of like other ones.
Or Alex Earl was Madonna.
Yeah, that one was cute.
Yeah, that was fine. I thought Kendall Jenner looked cute as Marilyn. Like, she actually looked kind of like Marilyn. And then they were, she and Kylie were Sugar and Spice from, I think, a Batman movie.
Oh, see, I haven't seen all the costumes. I'm like, where are they? I guess I didn't just peruse Instagram yet.
I feel, I haven't looked too deep either. I was hoping that Kylie would do more.
I know, because in the past, like, she did so... Or, that was another one. Keke Palmer did The Bride of Frankenstein when, like... Didn't Kylie do that one last year? And it was, like, again, the same thing, same background. I was like, why are we, like, copying?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I saw a lot of this. I don't think anyone famous did this, but I saw a lot of, oh my god, I can't think of her name, from Parent Trap.
Oh, yeah,
the stepmom.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name for some reason. It's like a...
snobby
snobby, like old money name. Well, we'll think of it. Meredith, yeah.
Was it Meredith?
Yeah, it was Meredith. I can't think of her last name though, because Meredith. Yeah, it was Meredith. With the sticks and the lizard. I saw a lot of that within TikTok.
I know, a lot of like normal people, us normies, did a lot of like funny-ish costumes.
But isn't it funny how like one person obviously posted that they were being Meredith, and then it kind of went viral because my friend I saw on Snapchat, she posted her friend last weekend and she was Meredith, and that was like the first time that I saw it.
Right.
But then after that, I saw it a bunch on TikTok, so it's like obviously that was all over the place. It's just weird why this year out of all years is that. I've never seen that costume before.
Me either.
It's funny.
Haley Bieber did the Scary Movie scene.
Yes,
that one was cute.
They were Pebbles and Bam Bam.
I actually didn't like their costumes.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I thought the idea was cute, but I didn't think the actual costumes were as cute
that good.
as I was expecting.
It was weird how it was like, you know, PVC kind of.
Yeah,
like
I think that's what I didn't
like about it.
Yeah. But, I mean, she has a perfect body.
I know, so she can literally wear anything. And that wig looked cute on her.
It did.
Yeah, I wish that we did have Halloween parties to go to, but it really is hard to decide on costumes. I mean, even this one, we went back and forth and talked about a million different things. And, like, we talked about getting wigs because obviously neither of us are blonde right now. But then we just figured that would look dumb because we wouldn't get
look like a wig.
I know. I wonder if we just should have though. Like it would have been kind of fun.
I know, just to like do a little something extra.
Yeah.
I know.
Next year.
Well, and then we waited kind of a long time.
I know we did. Too. We talked about it for forever and then never did anything until the last minute. Yeah.
It's tough out here, man.
Maybe next year when the pod pops off, we'll be able to throw our own Halloween party. We can run out of space for our listeners.
There we go.
Well, in timely news, by the time this breaks, it'll be almost, or by the time our podcast comes out, this will be almost a week, but poor Matthew Perry.
I know, it really was. Sorry. Sad. I did this is kind of morbid, but when I actually saw like the hot tub, it's like it was like I could see where somebody could like pass out and like drowned in that versus, and obviously you could drown in like one of the janky ones that like people have in their house, but I was like, oh, like this is like a hot tub.
It was a pretty big one. Yeah,
like a nice.
I don't know what to make of it. I mean, obviously, you know, we're not here to speculate on anything, and it's horribly sad. But I did hear people saying, you know, like they always have warnings about medications that you're taking, and can you go in hot tubs, and sometimes the heat can affect. Or even when you go in saunas, they're always like, if you are feeling tired, to get out immediately. So I wonder if, like, could it have been something as innocent as that? Right. You know? I
know, especially, and he's probably not, you know, in the greatest, well, I know he's not in the greatest health now, too, and that probably didn't help either. But, I mean, I could totally see, like, even in the shower sometimes, if it gets too hot, you do feel lightheaded. And it's a shower, so you're not going to, like, drown in the tub or something, but still.
Or, you know, I mean, his body has been really beat up over the decades, like
literally like destroyed, because that's how, because I
you read his book,
listened to his
book. Same thing,
but it like starts on the beginning, like he literally had like anybody who had this happen to him, it was like something exploded like in his bowels. Only had like a 2% chance to live with that like obstruction or whatever, and he like lived through that. But the fact that he like, that is such a serious condition, and he didn't die from that, but obviously it just tore his body apart. You just like he honestly, I mean, obviously he's older, but he honestly didn't look like great.
No, I mean, he's definitely was showing the wear of the drug and alcohol use.
I know. I remember too in his book, and obviously we're not saying that he died from drugs.
Yeah, we have no idea.
But he was talking, because I think he was like taking like 55 Vicodin a day at one point. Like I can't even. That's not even fathomable. And then he also said that he would pretend to be interested in buying a house and go and raid the the medicine cabinet.
Wow.
And it was like he was rich, so people were like, yeah, sure, go look around.
Right,
you know?
He can do whatever he wanted.
I just remember stuff like that.
That is, I'm going to have to read his book. It was one that I wanted to for a while, and then I honestly kind of just forgot about it.
I know. It was kind of like just disappointing as a fan of Friends, because he was, you know, on drugs and drinking and going through all that problem through the span of filming it, and he like really didn't remember much, and it was like so depressing. It's like you have this idea in your head that they're all like best friends in real life. Not that they weren't, but it's just sad when it's like
the others had a completely different experience than him. I know. I heard a weird thing on a podcast that I was listening to today or yesterday, and they were talking about his book and his death, and they were like, you know, like a year ago, like we were really critical of him on a podcast with his book coming out, and like we were super critical about some of the stuff that he said, and like he was being bashed all over the internet. And when I listened to that, I snapped you, but you probably didn't listen to me because I think I just did that this morning. But I was like, I feel like I was on a completely different internet. Like I remember the majority being very supportive of his story, him telling his story, and like that he wrote this book, and we're happy that he's an advocate for sobriety, and like I don't remember there being a ton of hate.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. The only thing the Celebrity Memoir Book Club, when they did the book and did their episode, they were pretty kind of like critical on him, and they said they got a ton of backlash and were like, no, that's not who he is anymore, blah blah blah.
Now so why were they critical? Like
because the way he kind of like talked about women wasn't great.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like stuff like that, and I'm trying to think of the other things they did, because some of the stuff was kind of like disappointing with
to
like
hear, yeah,
or just like the way he talked about Jennifer Aniston was kind of like, I wanted to, I don't know, like I had a crush on her, and then when she didn't have a crush on me back, I like didn't really like, you know, and
like
just,
a man scorned kind of, yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. So there's like some kind of stuff like that, basically.
But it's just kind of like, I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, well, we know now, we didn't know then. But at the same time, you know, you hear him say he was struggling with addiction. So many comics struggle with their self-image and their self-worth and all this stuff. And he really was that stereotypical, you know, comic that used comedy as a coping mechanism.
Well, no, I definitely agree with that. Even when there was parts in the book where I guess I was a little critical of some of the stuff he said.
Yeah.
And there was a part where he said, I'd give up like all the fame, all the money to not have an addiction. And I remember insensitively kind of being like, well, but would you though?
Yeah.
Like, you still have all the fame and money and all that stuff. But obviously it didn't buy him happiness or stop it from happening. But I guess just from a normie's perspective.
Right. No, it is just, yeah, it's crazy too. I remember him talking about when he dated Julia Roberts, and he was like, I just couldn't understand why she was with me.
I know, he definitely had so much like of that self-loathing, that horrible self-esteem.
And he's like, I just broke up with her before she could break up with me. And then it was like, that's what's so crazy is you think about that, and not that he and, you know, Julia Roberts would have been together forever, but it's just like, what could have been? Like, could that have been a different trajectory for his life?
And it's like he was in some movies, and then he's also on this, you know, show for 10 years. It's like, what could have also been?
Right, you know? It's just, yeah, I was absolutely shocked when I saw the headline, just because last we knew he was doing well, and of course the first thing you think of is, oh no, he had a relapse. I know. You know, like, just because knowing what we know. And we don't know any of that. No, they said autopsy isn't going to come back for like a couple months, I think. Yeah.
Because that'll be interesting to see like what actually
They did say they found quite a few prescription drugs in the house, but nothing illicit.
Right, and it would make sense that he
had those
with like bad health, basically.
So yeah, it's just sad. It's really sad to hear someone who's struggled.
We lost our first friend.
I know.
And like and like obviously he's young at 54, but it does like bring that into perspective. Like, well, They are getting older.
I know.
It's like, oh my gosh.
And not just even the Friends cast, but just like
all the celebrities.
That kind of our golden age.
Like Brad Pitt is what, like 60?
Yeah. George Clooney. I know. It's like they're getting up there.
They're gonna like, and it's like who? I don't know.
That obviously we know everybody ages and stuff, but it is so sad because those are the real celebrities, and like we've talked about before, I feel like they're the last real celebrities.
Yeah, it's like
and like
A-listers.
Yeah, and we fully grew up with them, and they were young. So in my mind, I still see them as
like 30s, 20 somethings.
Yeah, but they're not.
I know.
It's just. I don't want to think about it.
Like, what the heck?
I know, I don't want to. Or, like, remember, when, like, Marlon Brando died, or, that made sense because in our minds, well, he was
so
old and he was in all these old movies. But now, like, our movie stars are going to be passing away, but they're young. That's the second.
There's like a hole in this thing. Look, it's the lid now.
It's like all over you. Just kidding. I only see like one drop.
I don't know what it's called.
Anyway, yeah, we don't have to go too deep into that because it's sad.
Sad.
Yeah, it really is sad. Poor Matthew Perry.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy, like, not to keep going on about it, but like addiction is very, I mean, obviously it's really bad, but it's really fascinating to me because I just don't have that type of mindset or like mentality. Like even when I listened to Kat Marnell's book, it was like so intense, like and she even acknowledged it. She's like, yeah, this is really exhausting, is it? Like I just can't imagine having to like live like that, just that desperation for drugs and like alcohol too. It's like I just can't relate to that, so I just you really do wonder if there is like a gene for it.
I know, it does make you wonder, or is it just if you weren't exposed to this, would you just have never developed it, or like it's just weird.
You do wonder. Even with Matthew Perry's, like it is that book, the book is good and like dealing with that, but it was exhausting. It's like, why are you doing this again? It's like I just like would be like, why are you going back to this? Like, get yourself together. And it's like they literally can't.
I know. It's so sad.
It is sad.
It really is. It's frustrating though too, because I think to hear it, like a story from a celebrity or someone that you know, it's like it's so easy to be like, it's a disease, and it's so, but if it's somebody that is close to you or you're involved with, like it hurts so much deeper, and you're like, no, you are actively choosing this. Like it's so weird, and in your head you know that it's more than just choices, but because like you and I, we don't have addiction problems. It's just like how we can't even fathom, like how can you make these choices over and over and over again? How can you choose this instead of these important things? Like, yeah, it's really
I know, it's crazy. It's just something, it's so easy to be really judgmental about it.
And
like even with this Matthew Perry, it's easy to be like, oh, well, he probably just OD'd, and it's like, it's, I don't know.
I hope it wasn't that.
I hope it wasn't either. I really hope it, I mean, I don't hope that he's dead. I really hope it was just like
some accident thing,
just like maybe he didn't eat enough or was dehydrated and passed out in the heat or whatever.
Well, they did say he was playing pickleball for a long time, so maybe.
The temperatures are starting to cool down, and you know what that means. It is cookie making season. So instead of making your own cookie dough or going and buying that prepackaged stuff at the store that we know isn't super healthy, why not try something that is actually made with good for you ingredients? that is where dough comes in. These cookie doughs are ready to make right out of the tub, and you can also eat the cookie dough raw because it is vegan and gluten-free. The best part is that it's enhanced with different vitamins and supplements that can support your immunity or help stabilize your mood. We have tried a few of these different flavors, and we're always eager to try new ones. They are so delicious. We've tried the donuts as well, which are so perfect to put in your lunchbox for work, and we're going to be trying some of the delicious spreads that they have soon. So if any of that sounds good to you, go to Eat Dough. That's dough spelled DEUX.com and use our promo code WATERBOTTLE for 10% off. That's eatdough.com and use promo code WATERBOTTLE. Okay, we're back. We had a slight audio issue, so hopefully everything's okay. We're not going to go back and re-record. So I apologize. Hopefully in editing you won't notice anything. We did have some major technical difficulties. Our work computer got completely erased and revamped. So
hopefully
we're hoping
we'll be smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah, last week's episode, the audio came out, but the video was a little late because we had to take a trip to the Apple store. So we're hoping everything's good. It just seems like one thing after another, and it's so frustrating.
I know, because it should just be like this: record, edit, done.
I know,
like,
but everything has been taking 10 times longer. But I have a hopeful feeling that we're going to be okay going forward. Good. So,
and just a reminder, too, before we continue, that we're going to be uploading on Fridays from now on.
Yes, so don't forget. We'll put a little reminder on our socials for tomorrow. We will. But yeah, remember. Oh, and we'll have to change our little like bios.
I think stuff. I might have did that, unless I just thought about doing it and never did it. I might not have done it.
Yeah, Fridays going forward is going to be our new day. So it'll just bring you into the weekend. It's a little reminder.
Anywho.
There was one more thing I wanted to kind of talk about really fast. And I can't remember what exactly sparked this thought before. But then when we were talking before we started recording about a celebrity couple that has quite the age gap. Mm-hmm. I am 30. We are both 30, and I'm currently single. And it's just, I remember I started watching Southern Charm, and all the guys on there are like 40 plus, maybe late 30s. I don't know exactly everybody's age. And then the women are like, mid to late 20s. And I'm just like so frustrated by the narrative that like it's totally fine for a man to be 42 and just now ready to settle down. But they're not looking at 42-year-old women. They're looking at 23-year-olds.
Yeah, they want to have all their fun for, 20 plus years. And now they want a young girl to have all these kids for them.
Yeah. And it's just really, not that I'm here like crying that I like, want to settle down immediately and have children immediately.
Right.
But it's just so annoying to me that like that is totally fine and acceptable for men, and everything is fine and they can just have their fun and there's no need to rush. You have fun.
I know.
But then for women, it's like, well, why don't you have a boyfriend? Why aren't you settling down?
Right.
Aren't you ready to have kids? The time is ticking. Which, like, yeah, our biological clock is different for children than men. But it still is just like, it's ridiculous.
It is annoying, and it's annoying when like shows kind of like glamorize
they perpetuate
that
it,
stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, even like the Vanderpump people are like all the guys. I mean, the girls are older too, but it's like all these guys are old and they're finally like settling down, and it's like, well, we don't have that luxury.
I know. Or it's just like, okay, well, what if I wanted to go out and have fun, or I'm being more selective on who I I'm with, and I haven't found them yet. But it's like, well, that's not okay because by the time you might be ready,
right?
Like it's not okay for you to go for a much younger guy.
Right.
Not that you probably would want to, but you know.
And then it's like, oh, okay, so if you're 30, are you supposed to find a guy 15 years older and then's ready to settle down? It's like, well,
and will he even want you because are you too old?
Right. Or is he going to be a crotchety old man?
Yeah,
it's like in 5 years.
It's so silly. And we don't have to talk about Southern Charm, obviously, because I know you're not watching that. But I do enjoy this show. Like, it is fun to watch. And I do actually really like the dynamic of everybody and the way the show is. But it's just so annoying to me because even, like, Craig and Paige, like, Paige is a little bit younger than Craig. And then Austin is, like, 40 or maybe he's almost 40. And then there's, like, I don't even remember everybody's names, but like all the men are older. And then the one guy who's new, I think his name's JT, he literally is like over 40. He was married before he got married when he was like 20, and then it was just too young, didn't work out. And now he's like having this emotional conversation with his mom, how he's ready to find somebody. It's like, wow.
Like, oh, did you finally get around to that?
Yeah. And he has his eyes on this girl who's also on the cast who's in her mid-20s. I'm like,
yeah, I do think that if I was, or back when I was younger, I thought it was less weird when there was like big age gap difference. But now that the older I've gotten, I think it's really creepy.
Yeah.
To like think how much I'm like from 20 to 30. Like there's such a big difference in age. And to think that like I would never want to date a 20-year-old at this age. Like that's just crazy. And if I'm 40, there's no way I'm going for a 25-year-old to like seriously date.
Right. And I mean, I know for like men, like it is not uncommon for women to mature quicker. Right. But at the same time, it's like it still is a little weird that like your maturity levels are allegedly matching up when you're 45 and she's 26.
Like, right.
You know, like that's
I don't like that.
Yeah. And then like I would can we look at like, you know, guys on the TV that are like 22 and be like, oh my gosh, what a babe. Right. But if we actually met them, we'd be like, wow, you are 22.
Literally 22. You know? I don't want to have kids with you.
Yeah, like it's just so, or even to not even like actually settle down, but to even like be in a relationship with, it's like, God, I remember how I was when I was 22 and it wasn't somebody who could like have a real emotional conversation or like take things not so,
or be married.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just had that thought, and then because I'm kind of, not that I'm old, even though I feel old, I'm like in that situation. I'm just like, damn, like we women have it hard out here.
We do. No, I agree. It's like I don't want to marry a 50-year-old at 30. But that's like what you're telling me is available.
Yeah, right. like, so the ones my age don't want me because they're still running around.
They still got another 15 years of running around.
And the older ones might not want me either because they want
also
younger.
Too old. It's like, what is going on?
Like, it's so weird.
It is weird.
And annoying.
It is annoying. It's like, gosh, even when I saw, because Paris Hilton, that was another one who had some cute costumes.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, she's like 40 and still dressing up and like Kim and stuff. And I'm like, no, why not?
Yeah,
you know, like
I
was like, what are you talking about? Like, I hope I'm still
having
doing
fun.
something.
Yeah, I know.
I do feel like that, like, group, like Kim, Courtney, Chloe, you know, Paris Hilton, all of them, they really are making like being older pretty glamorous.
I know. I mean, obviously they're getting work done, so it's a little different.
But it's still like they're still out like dressing cute and like having fun.
Right. And Kim, you know, I think that she is working out a lot, so I don't necessarily know if I believe that she's like on Ozempic or anything, but I think she's looking amazing. Like this might be one of you know, the best that she's ever looked.
Right. And she seems like confident and like
and more fun. Like her personality is coming back out. And same with Paris. Like she looks fabulous. She's in love. She has a baby. Like I think she's loving life right now.
Or even like Luann. Like I was like, just to see her recently, I think it was a couple months ago, I finally like, you know, because you're hearing about her on Juicy Scoop, and I finally looked her up. I'm like, she really does look so good.
And with her longer hair.
Yeah, she's having so much fun.
I know.
I'm like, gosh.
I know.
It's just nice. It's just really nice to see, because I feel like obviously like aging is so like, you know, bad. Like they make us feel so bad about it. And I was like, no, these women are out here having a great time, having the best time of their lives as they get older. And I'm like, thank you.
I know.
Makes me feel better.
I know. It does. It's nice that we do have some people out there that can give us hope.
I know. Like, it's not that bad. But.
I know. Anyway, well, this was kind of our impromptu book club, I guess. We talked about it, but we read it pretty quick because, but we have Britney Spears, The Woman in Me. And we both got hard copies. I didn't make it all the way to the end because I don't know what happened. I like ran out of time. Actually, I kept reading it at nighttime and I was like so tired I kept falling asleep.
I know. Or I'd be like, I read for 15 minutes.
I know. It was like, set the timer.
I know. Definitely if this was like a, you know, Minka Keller's Selma Blair book, I don't think I would have been able to get through it that quickly.
Oh, right.
But
I know.
it was, the way it was written was very, I don't want to say simple, but it was like she wasn't trying to prove her intelligence to the readers.
No, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's like she didn't have the thesaurus out, you know.
Yeah, I thought that it really sounded like her thoughts. Like, obviously, by the time you hear this on Friday, like, other people have had a lot of commentary about the book, but the things that I've been hearing are just kind of the same things over and over again, and I think that we might hit on some things that maybe haven't been,
I know, or like more context to some of this, some of the stuff she said.
Yeah, but like when I started reading it, I was like, oh, I think that she actually did have a hand in.
I know, I think so too,
this because it sounds like her actual thoughts,
right? And it's not like overly complicated. Like there's not like a whole conversation of like word for word allegedly what people said. It's like, it just felt like the way if like I was writing a book or something, like I remember this, you know, like when like the snake dance part, it was like, oh, I just thought it was crazy to do this, but I just went for it. You know, It wasn't like this in-depth, well, then they said this.
Yeah, and the light shone on.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
And it was like,
I did feel like in a weird way, it almost read like a fiction book rather than a memoir, just because like there were parts where she would quote people that I'm like, was that a direct quote? Like it was just like, this is just one I just randomly opened it to the beginning. And it was about when Britney was talking about her grandmother and she got in that little car accident. And then she says, in quotes, "It wasn't even a bad accident, I told my mother. No, I'm afraid she's getting senile, my mom said. It's not safe for you to be with her alone anymore." I'm like, okay, so that conversation happened when you were what, 10? Like, this isn't... Like, it's just like that is how you remember it and you're putting in quotes for context instead of like, these were the real things that people said. You know what I mean? And it just almost felt like more like a novel where it's like, well, the character 1 said blah, 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 blah. Then character 2 said blah, blah, blah. So that was a little different from other memoirs we've read. I don't know if it's necessarily like a good thing or a bad thing. It was just a difference. Right. Yeah. Oh, and from that, I think it was from a different grandma, that British accent. Yeah. So, like, is that where her random British accent comes out?
Yeah, I guess I would say overall, this book, there was
there wasn't sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, there was a lot of stuff that was never addressed at all.
Yes.
And which is fine, because I guess in the grand scheme of things, like her talking about her British accent just doesn't mean that much overall. But there was like a couple things where I was like, wait a minute. Like there was times where I had to go back, like I'd read something and be like, oh wow, and then I kind of take a step back from what I actually remembered, like, and obviously it wasn't happening to me or anything, but it was like, but wait a minute.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Well, that's what, and it's not that I don't, this is just kind of overarching, and then we can kind of dig into each part of the book, but it's not that I don't believe Britney. I think that the conservatorship was extremely hard for her, and it was unfair.
Yeah, like I believe everything she said about the full conservatorship.
Yeah, it's just some other things we said before we started recording, like, is she the most reliable narrator? I'm not confident that she is.
And like part of me, I get like some of it, like, because it's like when you're trying to like make right with your children, you don't really want to say all the bad stuff just to like keep that to yourself, or like, I don't know, like I get why she was doing it, because I really did feel like she wanted her sons to read this and she wanted to paint herself in the best possible light, but I do feel like there's a lot of the pieces not missing.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Or just like, oh, maybe that was your perception, or maybe that's how you thought. Like, but there were a lot of things in there that I'm like, this could have been a different way, you know? Or
yeah, she was really like, she just kept saying like they were treating me like I was a criminal, like I killed someone, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, yes, maybe they were overreacting a little bit, but there were also reasons for reactions from some of the stuff she did, I guess I would say.
Especially now that we even see some of the stuff she's posting on social media, you know, I'm like,
again, that none of that was really, I mean, she like kind of addressed it, but didn't.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily change any way that I feel about Britney, because I felt this way before.
Right.
And of course, like with stuff with like the abortion thing, like the media twisted that all out of proportion. When you read it in her book, it's like she didn't make it seem like it was all one person's fault, you know? Like
I know there was some of that.
Yeah, like the headlines that we read or the hot takes out of the book, it was just like, okay, but that isn't how it actually is.
I agree. Yeah, definitely the abortion one was a big thing. Or even that whole thing where it was like, she said like, I don't know, something about when her and Justin were like being intimate together, and it was like, is it in or whatever? And it was like, that wasn't in the book at all.
Yeah.
Like that was completely made up. So
there's literally nothing
like
about
I know. She literally didn't say
Never said that. Okay, so one thing I thought was a little odd. My notes are chronological, so I'm gonna try and go off of that. But her relationship with her brother, I kind of like had to look up some dates and ages here. It said that she was sleeping in the same bed with her brother until she was in the 6th grade. So she's like 11 or 12, and he was 15 or 16. That is where it was like things are already kind of going awry, right? Like there's a bit of like trauma in the household for sure. Maybe a little bit of instability surrounding her. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely grew up very, like, I definitely like the way they grew up, and she doesn't even really get into like a lot of details about the way she was growing up, but I feel like she was very scared all the time when she was little, and had like a lot of anxiety,
right?
And I feel like she just literally wanted to be like held nicely,
right?
And so when so there was definitely there was a weird family dynamic.
Yeah, and she never actually straight up said like, I was scared because of XYZ, or but there would be random parts like way later in the book. She's like, I would cry having to get in the car with my dad because you know he would yell all the time, or he would talk to himself, and I'm just like, okay, like you never mentioned that in chapter 2 when you were young, you know, like it was just, which I know it's hard to write a book and to get every single thought in chronological order like that, but it was just like, I wish that she would have just straight up said there was a lot of trauma in the household. Yeah,
she definitely really kind of ran quickly through like her childhood, her career. And I think too, especially with like, this is just random, but with the Mickey Mouse Club thing, the way other memoirists talk about like their auditions for it and failing at it, and like this was the number one thing, she doesn't really talk about it at all.
No.
And I was kind of excited to hear it. I'm like, how great was it? You know what I mean? It was like, she just kind of said like she got it and it was fun, and that was like it. And I do think she just really like the whole, I don't even like first third of the book, she just flies through like kind of like the headlining moments, like the Baby One More Time video, or like the snake thing, like we said earlier, just like flying through the Madonna kiss. It's like
there wasn't a lot of things that weren't headlines. Like we didn't get any real inside scoop on a lot of those
which I was kind of like a little bummed out about. But I get she probably just like had a lot to say, and maybe some of it just really wasn't that deep, and the media turned it into such a like big deal. But
maybe it was an us problem,
right? Like, why were we so fixated on it? She didn't hardly think about it for the rest of her life.
Didn't even put it in the book. The drinking daiquiris with her mom at 13 was, and White Russians. That was weird.
That is kind of like just kind of like a shocking thing to just like
put out there, and it was and literally then walk away. Like it was just like, we did this, and it was like, fun.
Hold on, what?
It wasn't. What? Wait, whoa! You are
it's intense.
Barely a teenager,
literally, and you're driving,
and smoking,
crashing.
I mean, it was really, and I know this is a little stereotypical too, but I know in the South, like things are a little different. Yeah. The rules are a little bit looser. You do things a little bit younger, but that was, man.
It was so I know, and she almost does say it too, like it was totally normal. I'm like, well, actually in Ohio we don't. Not that kids don't drink in middle school or something.
Not with their parents
driving a car.
Too. A mom or dad isn't making a White Russian and handing it over to their 13-year-old while they go to the beach. Like that was what was weird. Then we kind of jump ahead a little. Well, in my notes, what stuck out was then we get to our teenage years.
Yeah, and like losing her virginity.
But it was weird how she's like, oh, I had this bad friend who was a bad influence, and this older boy. He like this story was so bizarre. She said she was spending the night at her quote unquote bad friend's house, and the boy who was like 18 or 19 just sneaks in the house, somehow knew Britney was there, and starts making out with her, and leaves, I guess. I mean, they just made out at that stage. Into the night, he just disappears. I was just like,
I feel like she was trying to. I feel like she was like trying to like romanticize it. Like, I had this bad friend. He just snuck right in the house, and
it was almost creepy.
I know.
I mean, she was like a freshman.
And then it comes back to like, wait a minute. I don't think that's okay. You know, like some of the stuff she just kind of like drops in there, and then you don't really get like anything else about it. It's like, wait, what?
Right. Yeah. That was just. I thought that was kind of bizarre. Oh, and then when she's out to eat with her agent or a producer or something, and the table sets fire at a restaurant in New York, I'm like, what? Like, wait a second. The table literally just was engulfed in flames.
I know, and she's like, hee. The silliest things happen. I'm like, wait, is the restaurant still there?
Was everyone okay? She said she enjoyed her first album because there was freedom in being anonymous. Like, she wasn't really known at that time. I don't know if you have things to put in between. I'm just kind of...
I don't know. She just really kind of just flies through all that.
Yeah, she
stuff.
really
like,
does. It's like a short paragraph, and the chapters are very short.
They are, and I guess I kind of kept comparing it to Jessica Simpson's book for some reason. But when Jessica Simpson was like talking about like signing with, it was like, I don't know, we got like a lot more to the process, but maybe it really was just that easy for Britney.
Yeah, like more cut and dry.
Yeah, like it's like Jive Records. It's like, and then Christina got the other one, and then Jessica got the not as good one. But it was just like, maybe it really was that simple for her. Like, she was really pretty and cute and easy to work with.
Winnie's feet are just...
Winnie.
You're so dramatic.
Winnie.
There we go. Anyway, yeah, this whole beginning part really did fly.
Yeah,
I mean, we were already to, when she's like, what, 18 at this point. Anyway, in the Mickey Mouse Club, obviously, we all know she meets these famous people. That's where she met Justin Timberlake, and they were just like magnets. They just couldn't stay away from each other. Some weird things start to happen, and this is where we heard this in the news with Michelle Williams reading this. We called NSYNC So Pimp, and apparently Justin Timberlake used the term faux shiz.
Yeah, he was like mega cringe, and I do totally believe.
I believe that. I was really thrown off by the so pimp thing because, like, I don't know.
I guess like I wouldn't have really noticed that because she kind of like compared Backstreet Boys to NSYNC, and it seemed like NSYNC wanted to be more like the hip hop, pop, where Backstreet Boys was more just like the boy bandy thing. Yeah, and I'm like, I guess I didn't really notice it back then, but
me either.
Like,
I can
maybe
see
they
it
were,
now.
yeah,
I guess,
especially like comparing like the way or like just the way they would dress and stuff back in the day. It's probably
it was a little more hip hop. Oh, for sure, it's embarrassing.
It was probably so embarrassing for them to think about that now.
Speaking of the way they were dressing, just to like do a sidebar here, do you think that after this book is out, that we're not going to see any more iconic Justin Britney denim outfits for Halloween anymore?
No, maybe not. Well,
I mean, I'm sorry, but that was still one of the most iconic.
I know. And even when she talked about that, she was like, let's do it. And he was like, okay.
I didn't think he would say okay. Yeah.
He did. I was like, that's just so like it's
really,
just crazy that people are like still dressing up as that now, and she almost has nothing to say about it.
It was like one sentence.
Yeah. Anyway,
and then one thing I thought was kind of weird was like she kept at random times she would refer to Justin as Jay.
Yeah.
And then she would go back to Justin, and then randomly she would say Jay. And I'm like, did you really call him Jay?
I don't know.
Why is it in and out? I thought that was kind of weird.
J and B.
Just makes me think of Justin Bieber now.
I know. Well, so then there's like the abortion part, which was actually... Getting the full context of it, the actual abortion was very traumatizing. And the fact that she couldn't even like be in the hospital to do it. And then she just had to like be at home because she ended up taking the pill for it. And she's like laying on the floor, and she said it was the worst pain she ever felt. But she also says that Justin was there.
Right, and he was very supportive.
Yeah, and he would like go in and lay with her. I mean, I'm sure he was as supportive as a early 20 guy could be, but he was there.
Well, this is what kind of frustrated me about that whole situation. They were very young. They didn't need to have a kid at that time. I mean, and I'm sure that people on their team knew like, I don't believe that it was just their decision. I guess just knowing, like, I know the way she kind of framed it was that Felicia, or was that her name?
Yes.
I guess we have the book literally right in front of us. We could look it up. I'm pretty sure it was Felicia.
I think it was Felicia.
She, you know, was her assistant, and she was the only other one at the house. But it's like, no, there wasn't, like, she didn't say that Justin pressured her. She literally just said he didn't want to be a father yet.
Right.
And I didn't want to make him do something that he didn't want to do. And I just feel like probably that Felicia or anybody else who might have known was probably like, you have to think about your career. Like, you are just starting. What is this going to do? And then she made the choice, and I just didn't like how this was somehow twisted.
I know, I agree. Like, the media ran with this.
As
it
if
made
he
it, yeah,
dragged
it made it
her
something.
into an alley.
Right.
You know, and that wasn't how she portrayed it at
I know,
all.
and I don't think she even sounded like malicious when she was saying it at all. Like, she didn't seem like she was so mad at Justin Timberlake for this. It just was like, he didn't really want to be a dad, and, you know, like, I had to respect that, and
Right.
just the situation we were in. It
And
wasn't
we were
this
young.
right.
Yeah.
And, like, it wasn't this big malicious story. Like I said, the actual abortion part was probably very traumatizing. It sounded horrifically painful, but it's like, that's not what she was, like, saying in the way the press just, like, took it, and then everyone went on this I hate Justin Timberlake thing again
For no reason. I thought that was
like,
completely
listen
unwarranted.
to what she has to say. That's why I think, like, when I first heard that, I'm like, I'm just gonna see what she says about it, because after I read it.
Well, and it's just, is it fair to judge someone over a decision that was made 20 years ago? You know, no, it's not. They were very young. Like, there's plenty of decisions that I made, you made, other 20-somethings made that we wouldn't make now, or that we wish we would have handled differently. But, like, why, if someone was digging that up or talking about it and now and hating me for it, I'd be like, this is so unwarranted. Like, it just, I didn't like how the pitchforks came out on that one.
I know. I mean, I wasn't surprised that they did, but it was like, just listen to what she actually said about it, you know? She does. I mean, I won't say that she, like, completely left Justin unscathed. She does talk a lot about how he cheated on her a lot, allegedly, according to her.
Yeah, but she didn't really know either.
Yeah, there was, like, it seemed like there was, like, a couple confirmations, but there's, like, a ton of other, like, speculations, and which, I don't know, I don't know. I do think, like, publicly, because then she kind of gets into, this was something she spent, like, just a touch more time on than she did with other stuff. Was, like, the way he kind of, like, slandered her, and then after their breakup, you know, like, the way she was treated versus the way he was treated. And we obviously all did actually see that in real time.
Right.
And I do think I feel like she wanted to make sure that people knew he cheated on her because of the way she was treated after their breakup and the way she was made out to be.
Yeah, because she repeated it multiple times throughout the book.
Yeah, because she was like, even though he was hooking up with whoever, even though he was doing whatever he wanted. And been like I said, we obviously saw all that transpire in that way, but I do feel like she wanted to make sure we all knew.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, she admitted that she did cheat on him with her one backup dancer or whatever. But yeah, I it was unfair. You know, I mean, I think especially back in those days, like, women were treated very unfairly in the media when it comes to relationships. And it was really easy for the man to paint the woman out as the one that ruined things, and people would run with that. Was it unfair that Justin kind of wrote this solo album allegedly accurately from his perspective about their breakup? Yeah. Am I surprised? No. I mean, again, a business move, like,
yeah, it definitely was. It was like, how can we monopolize, because everybody was obsessed with them as a couple.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we monopolize off of this breakup?
Yeah, and I mean,
Like,
we all remember the Crimea River video, and they had that Britney lookalike with
that's
the
a great
trucker
song.
hat. Oh,
That
it
song
is.
still holds
like,
up.
I just can't fault him for it. I know that sounds horrible, but it's another one of those things where it's like, that wasn't just his only decision. It was a business decision.
Right.
Like, I don't think that he was like, I am going to destroy Britney Spears' life. I think he was literally just thinking of himself and his career.
Yeah.
And I mean, she did get backlash, and that is unfortunate. And I think that he has since then, like, kind of come out and said that he would have done things differently. Like, not since the book came out, but just
when they went after him recently.
Yeah, before
like last year or
memoir.
something. Yeah.
But again, it was like early career. He has stars in his eyes. He's coming off of NSYNC. Like, of course you're gonna paint a different picture than what might be reality to have it benefit you.
Right. There was definitely, obviously there was stuff that he said publicly that wasn't very nice about her.
Sure.
I do think it's weird that, like, her just kind of, like, staying in this situation, the virginity thing, and her team, like, trying to, like, make it so big. And then it was like, then they asked, like, there's that one interview of Justin being like, yeah, like, or I think at first they both said, like, no, like, we don't do it, like, sarcastically.
Yeah.
And then finally he, like, says it, and she kind of is like, why were people so hung up on that? But it's like, but at one point she did say that she was still a virgin, but she's like, but we were living together. Like, how are people so stupid? I'm like, I don't know. That whole
It was a weird time.
thing. I know, it was so weird.
For some reason, everyone was obsessed with young women's sexual history and their changing bodies and puberty and everything. I mean, it was such a bizarre. I feel like we act as though, like, now we're under the microscope. No, like, early 2000s, it was a different ball game. Like, people were not holding back. Like, they were just no holds barred out there. Like, they were ruthless. I mean, the one interviewer that literally asked, are your breasts real?
Right.
Like, who does that?
How can you just, like, ask somebody anything
or
like that?
asking a 19, 20-year-old, like, so are you a virgin?
Yeah, it's like,
Who
how can you just
that?
literally walk up to somebody, that's like the hard-hitting news, and then for it to be like, yeah, sure, you know what I mean? Like, and then for people to have ran with that for so
and why
long.
do you care?
Literally.
It's
like,
almost
it's so
sick.
gross.
Like,
it is. And she kind of, like, talks a lot about, like, body image and the way people ripped her body apart and stuff in the media, and
especially
it's like,
after the kids.
yes, it's like, it just was so intense, and I think this book was a good reminder of, like, that.
Yeah, and it was interesting how she even said, she kind of, like, thanked Justin, and she's like, when he finally said, like, no, I slept with Britney, she's like, I was thankful. I didn't mind that he did that, because he was actually acting and treating me like I was a woman. I was a human instead of just this little precious girl.
Like,
that
somebody's not real.
Yeah, like, that was interesting, because so many people hated on him for doing that too, and she had the complete opposite feeling about it. She's like, finally, I can stop this ruse.
I know, it was just so weird. And I feel like and she kind of even said too, like, when she was like, yeah, I said, yeah, she's like, I didn't know it was gonna be this thing forever,
and
just by saying that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, sure.
It was that
She's
was
like, we lived together. We had, like, a full house together.
I didn't even know that they lived in Florida.
Yeah, like Miami or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what were you guys doing down there?
Why
Just
Florida?
living.
Like, that was bizarre.
Literally.
Oh, to go back really quick about the Justin breakup, she says it was a text, which I don't think I knew that. Like, it was just a short text. But then she also said that he gave her a letter later.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused about that. And then he said, like, I can't live without you, or I can't breathe without you,
it was
or something.
almost like I still am in love with you. Like, I didn't choose this.
Yeah, it was really
it was weird. But then obviously he was out living his life.
Right.
But then she said she still has it under her bed.
I wasn't really surprised about that because I feel like celebrities get like stuck in that age that they've been in, like that moment in time. And so I wasn't surprised. I also, just because I had listened to Jamie Lynn Spears' book, and the way she talked about like Justin and Britney breaking up was so weird, when she was just like, we just loved Justin. He was so wonderful. And we would just still talk to him and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you people, I don't know. That was just really weird to me.
The family dynamic is so
weird.
Bizarre.
It was almost like, well, I mean, we'll get into that later, I guess.
I don't even think even in this book, we haven't touched the surface of it. I think there's a lot more.
I know, like so much more, but...
She talks about the only way she can describe her relationship with Colin Farrell is they just brawled for like a week or two.
I know. I wondered too, because when this book was coming out, him and Justin Timberlake kind of like were mad about stuff. I wonder if she took a bunch out about him,
because there wasn't really anything.
No, and
there.
I was like, what was he mad about? And then I'm like, well, she probably took all that out.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe he just didn't want to be associated.
A really intense sexual experience. Yeah,
I
expect that from him at that time. Yeah. And then I looked up the pictures from that premiere. Thing, yeah, because she's like, she bizarrely focused on the fact that she was wearing a pajama top. It definitely was not a pajama top.
I didn't look up the picture.
Those were those silky, lacy tops that were so popular in the early 2000s.
Right.
Like, it wasn't a pajama top.
It wasn't this like crazy outfit.
She literally said it like 3 times. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm wearing a pajama top. I look back on those pictures and it's a pajama top. It's
kind of, see, look, they look like they had a great time.
Yeah.
How cute. She was so beautiful.
I know. She was a stunner.
Yeah, I thought it just looked like a lacy camisole.
Yeah, it was pretty normal. It even had like embroidery detailing and stuff.
She looked cute.
Then we come to the Madonna collab that I thought was kind of weird. She was kind of like, well, they did the VMA performance, and then she was just kind of like, how about I do a collaboration with Madonna? Let's just go ask her.
I know. She's right in the same room. I'm like,
yeah. Oh,
you probably
is
can
that
do
how
that as Britney Spears?
I mean, I will say reading this book made me go back and watch a lot of videos, her actual music videos, and then some performances, and there were even some side-by-sides of rehearsals versus actual,
I love those
which
videos.
I like, yeah. But I will say, like, she was talking about the kiss, the iconic kiss between her and Madonna, and she kind of made it seem like she initiated it. I don't think that she did.
I think it seemed like, because she made it sound like they went out there, or like right before they went out there, she's like, actually, I'm just gonna really kiss her. But then why did Christina Aguilera, unless Madonna like felt the kiss from Britney and then was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna kiss Christina for real now? I don't know. It was kind of like, I feel like they did talk about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I feel like I believed her when she was like, at first it was supposed to be an air kiss, but then later I'm like, I should actually kiss her. But I feel like there was actually a conversation between the women.
And I mean, if I could be totally wrong here, if anybody was going to have that idea and initiate it, I think it probably would have been Madonna.
Yeah.
You know, because that is her, always pushing these boundaries.
Thinking about that now, that actually was pretty scandalous.
Oh, it was.
We've like never seen anything like that.
I know.
Ever.
Even when I rewatched
now,
it, and I was like, wow.
Oh,
I will say too, like, watching that performance, and Britney is an amazing performer, right? Like, in her prime, she was unparalleled.
Right.
But she did use a heavy like backtrack and would like lip sync, which she's doing crazy stuff out there. You know, that's fine. But it was kind of weird to have her next to Christina Aguilera, who
Right.
like is actually singing, and you can tell, and then Madonna, who also was actually singing, and then you hear Britney, and it's like, this is clearly you recorded it, but you're not singing it right now. And I'm just like, yeah, that it was evident, but at the time I don't even remember that really. Like, do you?
No, I don't. It's probably open too. No, I don't ever remember. The first time I ever like even heard of the lip syncing was like the Ashley Simpson. It was like, wait, what?
But now it's like looking back at these performances, I'm like, this sounds exactly like your album,
right?
And you're literally doing like flips and turns, and like there's no possible way you can.
Right.
It's just you can't, you know. And so it was interesting. I just never like noticed that, and I do believe that she does sing it. It's just it's easier to do that in the studio than it is.
And definitely during like the conservatorship, I feel like they did not let her sing.
For sure, because they didn't want to give her any slack on that leash. Yeah,
we'll get into that later, but I mean, are you ready for like the K-Fed relationship?
Oh yeah, I thought it was interesting how she was like, Madonna advocated for herself, and it was so easy for her to ask for things or to have things done a certain way, and she's like, I didn't know that was even an option.
I wonder, obviously Madonna was a little older than she was, but I wonder like why they let Britney like, but then I guess I'm a little bit confused about it. It seemed like they didn't let Britney do anything, but then sometimes she would get like creative control even
before the conservatorship. Yeah, I thought so too, and I know that probably was a sign of the times.
I guess I'm just like I guess I've always been a bit unclear about that, even like back in the day and now. Like, who gets to decide what? When does the artist get to decide?
I know. It did feel like back in the early 2000s how like the record labels just made these stars. And now, because of social media and everything and streaming, we kind of make the stars.
Right. And I think like now we want more like authentic people, like especially when you have like a Taylor Swift who writes her whole life in music, and then you have like Olivia Rodrigo too, and where back then it was like, no, there were songwriters that would just write songs and they pass them around to like everybody, and then maybe you would like really like a song and resonate with it and pick it, but it was just, I don't know.
Or even because at the time when we were younger, it's like I didn't even think about that. Like I didn't know the ins and outs of the industry. Right. It was just,
and I definitely think it was a lot. We weren't led into it like we are now.
Right. And
like
now,
people are so much more like honest about
different
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like we'll hear on a podcast with like Heidi Montag and stuff. How she's like, yeah, I got songs from so-and-so and she wrote for Britney Spears or, you know, like, or I was with these producers or like they're so transparent about the stuff going on in the inside the studio, and we just didn't know, like,
or like even like just thinking of the song Lucky, it's like, oh, obviously Britney wrote that. I mean, like how would you like not, but it's like I definitely don't think she did, but she would have stuff like that, like Piece of Me, where it was almost like this commentary on what was going on in her life, but yet everything else wasn't hers, you know, like I don't know. It's kind of like a weird
and it is
dynamic.
We talked about this before too, where like Every Time was the one song that I don't know why it came up, but then I watched that video, like such an emotional, like that song is so beautiful.
It is a beautiful song.
And that video was so emotional. Like, wow, Britney. But anyway, and I was proven wrong that like she did have a hand in writing it.
I know there's like so many like that's her, but then this isn't her. It was just so unclear.
Yeah, and she kind of, I think she kind of talked about it every time in the book, like briefly, but in the book, she kind of made it seem like she wrote it all by herself, but then when I actually looked it up, it was like, no, she did have this songwriter with her.
I do think the book was very, like, there was no, like, insight into the music.
None, like,
which I think was because she's had so many albums. Like, there just really wasn't any insight into the music, which, again, it's like, I don't know if that just wasn't, like, this was just about more of her life versus her career. Like, I don't really know. I feel like we need, like,
well, she said we're going to get a part 2.
I
think
so we need it.
I want one that just focuses on her career.
Yeah, because it is interesting. You're not going to necessarily get that in this book.
No, it goes pretty fast. Okay. Well, she had the first marriage with that Jason Alexander. She basically just said, I was bored. I didn't really think it was real in Vegas.
Yeah, she's like, hee hee.
But she I thought this was the first time where she said, I realized that when an outsider is coming in, it's a threat to my family.
I know. That, yeah. We'll get more into the family later.
And like, knowing now about Jason Alexander, we know he might not be the most reliable narrator either. Like, he doesn't seem, with some stuff that he's done more recently. But like, I think he probably was infatuated with her.
And he was like, hey, you want to marry me? Sure.
Yeah,
like,
why not? And then like, yeah, I'm sure he did have that like lust for her at that time, and maybe he promised a bunch of things, and it was a threat for the parents to be like, like, this could be a life of her without her being under our control.
Or like, who is this guy coming in here and taking this money? And
that was interesting. Yeah, so then we flash forward to K-Fed. I thought that they met originally because he was one of her backup dancers, but they met at a club.
I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't. It felt so quick, like in real time.
Yeah.
Like, and then all of a sudden she was pregnant and they were married, and then the show came out, and then the other kid, and then they were divorced. But it was kind of like that.
Yeah, it pretty much was.
But when did she actually, like, it was explaining it, and I was like, oh, it was that fast.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of forgot how fast it actually was.
Know.
And then to jump ahead slightly, but I looked up, like, she was 23 and 24 when she had her kids. So like, we are this is an accelerated timeline. I mean, we broke up with Justin Timberlake, and in the span of like 3 years, we're like married with kids, married twice with 2 kids. Yes. Anyway, it was nice to echo what you said kind of at the beginning, how she just wanted somebody to kind of like hold her, love her.
That's what she says about K-Fed, and they were like,
he made her feel safe.
He just like held her. I'm like, gosh, that's sad.
I'm just like picturing it in my mind.
I know, of him just like holding it. And I'm like picturing her like straddling him and like just being held, but I'm sure it was a lot different than that. But just the image of it was. But it was like all she wanted was literally the bare minimum. Like,
I know, and it was.
She wanted.
He was just so. From our eyes, he was so transparent, right? Like, you knew that this wasn't gonna last. You could just look at them together and know. You're like, Britney, what are you doing?
I
know. For the love of all things good. And then it was just sad that like, boom, 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 like in love, married, which she proposed to him first, and he said no, and then proposed, and like then she has 2 kids in the span of a year practically, and like. He pretty much got what he wanted and then walked away, essentially.
Right. Literally. And then, like, he got, like, his little fame, like, career for 15 minutes.
In quotes, because...
Never really happened. That was crazy too. And the way he just kind of like, and I like believe her about that too, where he just like was gone. Like he literally didn't need her.
Right.
Like,
I mean, that was sad.
it was sad. And I did find like, then she kind of gets into, well, when she starts talking about like the divorce and him like keeping the kids from her. I mean, that is just awful.
I know. He literally just like kind of locked her down.
Yeah, and like
he wanted the fame, he wanted the money, he wanted the notoriety to launch his nothing career, and then he left her high and dry. And I don't understand why no one is hating K-Fed.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, not that. I guess I don't want to say what K-Fed did was worse than what Justin did, but like K-Fed,
I think it was.
I know, but I mean, it's just like I don't know.
You can't really compare.
Yeah, it's like a weird situation.
Yeah.
But I was like, he was awful, and like we even saw some of that play out. And thought he was awful.
If there is any villain in this book up until this point, it's him.
Yeah, like before conservative, and this is before conservatorship.
Yes.
He is keeping these kids from her. Just the worst, and you could tell like it just felt like kind of like a Ryan and Macy from Teen Mom, or Adam and Chelsea, just like, except for the dad actually like wants the kid around, but just like that emotional, like probably texting her like mean thing, just like screwing with her head all the time.
Yeah, he did. I mean, this was, so I marked this in the book. This is like Jaden was 5 months and Sean Preston was 17 months. And so little. I know. She said, after not getting to see the boys for weeks and weeks, I was completely beside myself with grief. I went to plead to see them. Kevin wouldn't let me in. I begged him. I imagined them not knowing where their mother was. The paparazzi watched it all happen. I was humiliated. I was cornered. And then this is when she shaved her head. Mm-hmm. And it really, this is where when people are talking about like, you know, every single thing that Britney has in this book is being like Bible, and we say being a unreliable narrator, like this is where it comes in for me, because this is a clear like mental break. Like she was literally, everything else was like leading up to this, like the different stress that she had, the breakups that she had, the pressures from her family, because at this point she was like bankrolling them. This was like the last straw, and it was the worst, the heaviest possible straw that could have been put on the pile, and it just broke her.
I know, and it kind of in the book too, she kind of plays it off like, well, I had dyed my hair really dark and it was almost like purple, so they had to strip my hair and make it more of a natural brown. And then like, you know, talks about like the K-Fed stuff. It almost makes it sound like, well, my hair was damaged anyway and I wanted, and then
but then
she's like, I just wanted to be ugly. Like I didn't want to be pretty anymore. And I know there's like the theory that she didn't want to get drug tested and that's why she shaved her hair and stuff. And I don't necessarily think that was it either, but I just don't think you did it to be because you wanted to look ugly.
Yeah. Or like that you wanted to make your hair healthier.
Yeah. Like it was just a weird like.
And I mean, she did say like, I was out of my mind with grief.
Yeah, so she like acknowledges it.
She said it was a way of saying to the world, F you, you want me to be pretty for you. F you, you want me to be good for you. F you, you want me to be your dream girl. F you, I'd been good for years. But I think it really was just like mentally she just snapped, and it was like,
I know,
because that was so irrational, and it came out of nowhere.
It wasn't like she did it at her house,
right? It was. And she
actually, I don't think she even said that she was at a salon when she was.
No, she does. I went into a hair salon, but I mean that was the paparazzi were there. We saw it happen.
I know, and she was almost smiling doing it. Like I felt
it was
like
manic.
It really was, and I just don't. I think that was like I don't know. It was interesting to hear from her what she her allegedly how she was feeling at that moment, but I wasn't sure if that was really the full story.
I mean, I
I don't think that she even really knows.
No, I think
she was in such a fragile place.
I know, it almost seemed like, well, I obviously did it because I wanted to look ugly. But she even like mentioned too, like something about after she had shaved her hair and her mom was around, and she's like, my mom literally wouldn't even looked at me because I was so ugly. And I'm like, I don't know, it's just like, ugh.
Then we talked about this in a previous episode, but the Gimme More VMA performance, I did like that she touched on that, but like, well, she admits, she's like, it was horrible. It was a bad performance.
She's like, I didn't like my outfit. My hair looked bad. I wasn't feeling good about it.
And that's when she kind of talked about her body.
She went into a lot about that, which was like so. And
it was because we looked back on it and we're like, she doesn't even look that bad.
She literally.
But when you compare it to, I mean, her body was unbelievable. And granted, she was late teens into her early 20s.
She was 16 years old.
Yeah, and then she had 2 kids back to back.
Literally, she said 3 months after the one was born, she was pregnant again.
So it's like, it was so unrealistic that we would have put that type of pressure on her.
And not to mention, she had like, clearly was going through a lot. It's like, you're not going to be at your best.
So when I don't know, I mean, then she kind of goes in a little bit later talking about how she was taking a lot of Adderall.
Yeah, she does admit to some drinking, and she said a lot of Adderall. I do think she wasn't super transparent about the Adderall. Like, at first she's like, yeah, I would kind of take it sometimes. And then later she's like, yeah, I guess I was taking a lot of it.
And earlier in the book, she'd mentioned Prozac as well. So I don't know if she necessarily knew what she was taking at this point, because this was right after she had that alleged, in my opinion, a mental break.
Right.
And it was very clear though, like when we watched it live, and then when we rewatched it a couple months ago, it was like, it was sad because you could tell she was out of it.
Yeah.
You could tell her heart wasn't in this, that she didn't really know what she was doing. Like, something was off, you know? But it was interesting how she was like, it was bad. Like, I can't even. But I thought it was horrible how Sarah Silverman came out.
I know, and I remember her saying that.
I remember it being. I don't remember it like live. I don't know if I was up late enough to see that part, but I remember it the next day. Like,
I think that was like the whole. Like, I remember watching it too when she said all the nasty stuff about Paris Hilton too. I think that was the same night.
Yeah, I mean, she really went in about her on stage and talking about her
just
kids.
Again, like the way we would like talk about women and like how they, I mean, we still kind of do that, but the way, I mean, it was just like ruthless, and to hear it from another woman's mouth was like
even more jarring. What else? Oh, it was interesting how she said she admitted that after she had her children that she kind of regressed, and that it was kind of based on childhood trauma. I'm like, okay, I definitely can see that. And then the more trauma that you're having with losing your children folds into that and definitely makes it worse.
Okay, guys, we are really excited to announce another collaboration with the brand Happy Earth. They make the cutest clothes, and they are sustainable and made really responsibly. We are getting an order in soon, so we're really excited to show you guys some of their cute fashions, especially with the temperatures cooling down here in Ohio. For fall, these are going to be so perfect. So they have everything from organic sweatshirts to organic joggers, really cute graphic tees, and the best part about this brand is that they actually give back to the environment. So with every purchase, you are helping to fight climate change, plant trees, and even clean up trash. So for a nice discount, you guys can use Emotional Support Water Bottle Pod at checkout for a wonderful 20% off. That's at happyearthapparel.com. Use code Emotional Support Water Bottle Pod for 20% off at checkout.
I think about this point she does end up getting, well, she has like the ambulance situation.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't
it. Well, okay. Yeah. We'll talk about that first and then the rehab or whatever. But so, yeah, she explained like the ambulance situation, which we all remember seeing her on the gurney.
Yep.
And she explained it that she put the first son in the car and then she's like, wait, if I put my baby in the car, I might never see him again because of the way K-Fed was being. And she's like, so I went into the bathroom and just held my baby. And then her friend said, he'll wait.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she said the police were there banging in on the door and like took her away and stuff. And then she ended up like going to rehab for that.
Before we get into that fully, what did you feel about the whole baby in the bathroom?
She made it sound like it was like so quick. So I don't know. I don't know if the bodyguard, because it was a bodyguard that came and got the kids, which I think is like, come on, K-Fed, you can't freaking come get your kids.
Yeah, he was definitely playing this up.
I don't know if then like the bodyguard was like, well, she went back in the house and then he called K-Fed and then K-Fed called 911, or if there was literally really a hostage situation happening. Like, I really don't know what I think of.
And I think that was what was crazy too, because after we just hear where she kind of had a breakdown.
Right.
And then this happens and it's like, I think her looking back, she's a little bit more self-aware, but it's like, how does this all look? I mean, when you put it all together at the time, like, it looks like you are holding the child in the bathroom and you're not going to give the child up and the child could be unsafe, you know?
And that's one of the hardest things I think I have with, not just like with Britney or whatever, but the way, I mean, somebody would have to, and maybe they would have to be so manipulative to like create all these scenarios for her to be in like this and to escalate them the way they do to try to get her in this conservatorship.
With literally like no reason behind it, right? Like they're literally just fabricating and manipulating.
Right, and like the gurney thing was just a complete overreaction, like calling 911 and them taking her. It's like you do have to wonder if she was, once 911 got there, maybe if she was like, no, like you don't take, like there was like an episode happening, because I can't imagine that they would just snatch her up
that
for no
quickly,
reason. But maybe, I don't know.
And maybe we're underestimating the power, but at this point it was K-Fed and I don't really think he had a lot of power in the industry. Right.
And like, do I believe she did maybe get herself a little worked up? Like, I might never see my kids again. Like, I'm not giving the other one or they'll leave. Right. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. It was just really...
it was one
I
of
felt
those,
she was kind of like a little laissez-faire about it, though.
Yeah, it was like, no biggie.
She's like, I just went in the bathroom, and then all of a sudden 911 came busting in. And it's like, I don't know. I just kind of felt like if you were having and getting really upset, you were justified. Like, you probably were genuinely nervous your kids were never going to come back again. And I think that maybe you could have been freaking out or having like a meltdown and not necessarily needed taken away, but that you were actually upset. But I don't feel like she really like says that.
Yeah, and I mean, you have children, so I imagine, if you were in a situation, like you would be doing anything in your power to be able to see your kids, and that would be a huge fear that like if I give them back to him, he might not let me see him again. But it's just like, I just think that she was in a really fragile state and it wasn't allowing her to make clear and maybe well thought out decisions. Right. And then that unfortunately led to a lot of things. And do I think that her family and K-Fed were taking advantage of some situations for personal gain? Yeah, absolutely. Right. But I don't
like you said, I don't think it was just like everything was completely fabricated by them, or they manipulated everything.
At least in the beginning, before the conservatorship.
Right.
But it was kind of like the hard part I had about with Britney is that, you know, obviously people were saying all these things about her, but she was kind of like giving people these like crazy, I don't want to say crazy moments, so like over the top, insane moments.
And
like
she even says it in the book.
Right. And she's like, yeah, I did trip when I was carrying my son.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it wasn't
my
that
kid
big of a
was
deal.
on my lap when I was driving.
Yeah. And it's like she like tells us that. I don't know, but it does suck that a lot of things probably were blown out of proportion, but there were other things that were a little odd that were happening. But anyway, she does get like sent to rehab. I just want to say that she did not mention Selma Blair being there.
No, she didn't.
Or nothing about the wig,
once.
nothing about the flip-flops.
So who's the more reliable narrator? Honestly,
I know.
It's a toss-up.
I know. And it seems like this would have been the time because she had this rehab part because she had already shaved her head and she was wearing the wigs.
And she also has like name-dropped a few other people. So the fact that she didn't say anything about
Blair.
Selma
Maybe
Blair.
she thought, well, Selma Blair already talked about it. I just
think
thought
it's very
that
telling.
was interesting.
It was really sad how when she went to rehab and her dad was like, "You're a disgrace."
I know. Like, he was just a awful person.
Yeah,
like,
he's
so
evil.
Awful. And what? The part that just is so hard for me to like understand if you're like a normal person is why her family like hated her or like wanted her to fail. Like, I just like, I can't wrap my head around it.
I can't either because she gave them everything.
Yeah, like houses and everything, and yet he's so mean to her.
And literally everybody, her dad, her mom, her sister, like they all are just in this web of just hatred for Britney.
And I like could not like grasp my head around it. I'm like, why do you dislike her so much? Like, was she, you know, because we're obviously just getting her perspective. Was she a bratty kid? It's like, where is this coming from? Just like, and not even just like, not that I could see how you could take advantage of like your child star, but like I see that more. But they had like they were doing that. Plus, they hated her.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that because we've seen it with other celebrities before, right?
Right, but just like the absolute hatred they had for her just blows my mind. Like, I just can't even understand it. But
yeah, that was just.
And then the conservatorship basically starts,
and then before that, I think it was right before the conservatorship. She's even talking about that, like rebelliousness or the things that she kind of did to feed into certain ideals about her. When she was dating that photographer, and like admittedly through that whole thing, she's like, I was being rebellious, when in reality she was being very reckless and very kind of irresponsible. And again, like doing these things that are feeding this fire almost, you know? And I think,
and it's like, I think she would go back and do it differently now, but what she was doing then was kind of like making the media talk about her in a way.
She even said in here, like, yeah, I don't care anymore. He kind of gave me that F this attitude, and I'm just going to do what I want. Like, it was like she was kind of aware, but I don't think that she fully understood like the repercussions that were going to come from that. Which who could have? But even to like a smaller level, I don't think that she anticipated any of that.
Right, that it was all going to be used against her in the end.
I mean, I know she was young, you know, when she had the kids. So it's any other person would have been out partying and doing whatever, but she kept kind of saying in the book, like, I went out when my kids were safe at home under supervision. And it's not that I thought that she just left the kids in their cribs and went out, but it was kind of like, why are you out with Paris Hilton?
Right. It was like when she's like hanging around Paris Hilton and herself.
Yeah.
Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan's, like, they didn't have kids.
Yeah.
So I do think it made it, like,
It
at
just
least
was
in the
a bad
media,
look,
yeah,
right?
to be like with all these people without kids, like, they're obviously getting the scrutiny and stuff, but they're not getting the "you're a bad mom" scrutiny.
Right. And I never even thought, looking back on that, I never thought, like, they're all on drugs.
Right.
They're out, like, sleeping with everybody. Like, I never thought that. I just thought that they were out partying. And,
Right.
like, I thought it was kind of weird that Britney was out partying when she had the custody of the kids. And it was like, why are you out all the time? That just didn't really help her case very much, I don't think.
Right. And I think even if she was out just one time, it was going to be
It would have
used
been blown.
against
Oh,
it.
for sure. And that's just the time it was, too.
I know. The part, too, I know she says that she, didn't really, like, drink a lot or do, like, the other drugs. But when you're, like, when Paris Hilton's getting arrested or at the airport with cocaine.
Right.
And it's like, we've been around people that do drugs and we don't do them or ever did them. But you do just kind of have to, like, side eye just a little bit when you're around all these people doing cocaine. Not saying she did.
And
but
even if she didn't do anything, you're still around all these people. So people are going to just
say
think,
it, right?
Yeah,
that you're also going to
and
have cocaine in your purse.
It's not a good look, right? Like, I think in some ways she did, like, purposefully do these things because she felt they were just acts of rebellion,
right?
But, like, they were very detrimental.
I know, especially the way they ended up being, like, that's just
it's sad. Okay, so now we're in our first rehab stint, and then the conservatorship comes into play.
And then her dad literally is like, "I'm Britney Spears now."
Do you think he really said that? Like, I truly don't know.
I kind of do think he said something along those lines. Yeah, like, you're under my control now.
I literally have
it's
that
horrifying.
Right
like, when I read that, I was like, oh my God,
I
like,
looked
fell
at
over.
him with a growing sense of horror. I'm Britney Spears now, he said.
That is like
Chilling.
The things of horror movies. Like, I'm gonna have nightmares about that line.
Before this, did you think this was weird? Like, I just thought it was weird that she threw this in. How she's like, I was on top of things. I kept a bowl of receipts for tax deductions. I'm like, what?
I do feel like that was kind of like an old lady thing that used to be a thing. But I mean, I guess this was still like probably 2007 or something.
Yeah, it was.
So maybe
just,
we're keeping
and I felt
receipts.
like she just peppered that in to be like, I kept receipts.
I do think she would like try so hard to do something responsible, but she was just so chaotic all the time.
She couldn't keep it together.
That she just, I don't know.
I agree. Okay, that's where I read more, but that's where I stopped my notes. So,
well, she's basically in this conservatorship, and she kind of like goes along, or she kind of says she basically just kind of complies with it for a while, because it seemed like they're just like holding her kids over her head.
Yeah, she's like, if I comply, I can get
my kids back, which really doesn't happen.
It happens for like a second. Yeah. And then they kept saying that, like, you know, we need to be in control of these things, but we want you to go on these big tours and perform all the time.
Yeah, and she pretty much says, and then they're like giving her drugs like lithium and stuff and trying to like, she's like, I did feel like a robot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like interesting. It's like we could see it, but it was interesting to hear her actually say it. And then she kind of says, like, when she's doing her performances, like her Vegas residency, she's like, I didn't really give it my all anymore. Like, I was so sick of doing it. I didn't want to do it. And she's like, I would try to change it up and I couldn't.
Right.
And she said it was for 3 years, like never getting to change it at all. Like that would literally
and it
drive
was so
someone,
apparent.
I know, that would literally drive someone to literal insanity.
Yeah.
Like that is so awful. And again, it's like, why did her dad but isn't it going to make you more money if things are better?
Right.
It's like,
what was the motivation? That's what I can't figure out.
Me either.
Besides
it's like
money.
Right. But there's got to be why wouldn't you want it to be a better show so you could charge more for tickets? Like, that's the part. I don't know if he just, it really did seem like he wanted her to be miserable. And I just don't understand.
Yeah. I don't understand either. Like, is he just that evil?
Like, that is next level evil, man. But
I can't believe her residency was so long ago. That's crazy.
I know. It seemed like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. But she does say a couple of different times, she's like, I thought they were going to kill me. Like, she's like, I thought they were going to kill me. That's when, after she said that, I'm like, okay, she really did write this book. Like, they don't have Britney Spears killed. That really is Britney spinning around with knives on Instagram. I was like, okay. But yeah, she mentions that a couple times. Like, oh my God.
But it's just like, at that point too, though, you can 100% see how the pure paranoia would be seeping in. And then they've got her on these different medications.
Drugs, they're like, won't let her freaking eat a chocolate bar.
It's like, of course, they're psychologically controlling her and manipulating her. And it's like, she probably is going to think that people are going to kill her. Or they're like going to barge into the house and kill her or something. I know.
When she kind of just gets in the control of what she ate. He'd call her fat. She's like, she would have to sit in therapy. They kept sending her to rehab because they kept saying she was addicted to energy pills or something that were over the counter.
That was weird.
And I'm like, were they just sending her to rehab because they wanted to keep it looking like she was or unstable,
just
or what?
We don't want to deal with Britney right now.
Send her to rehab.
Just send her to rehab. They'll take care of her.
I know. I didn't understand the motivation behind sending her to rehab 100 million times.
It's almost like, what do they call that? Respite.
Yeah.
Where I'm so tired of taking care of my elderly parent. Send them to respite care so I can have a break.
Yeah.
It's almost like they used rehab like that.
Right. It really did, because I think there's 3 more times or something.
Which I don't even remember that many. I feel like some of those were really kept quiet because.
And I think too, once it kind of got to the point, not that people stopped caring, but I do think it was just kind of
the same thing over and over.
Yeah, and then you just kind of stopped paying attention to it in a way.
And because it got so out there and just off the wall, you're like, well, it's Britney.
Right.
That's just what we kind of came to expect.
But I mean, so it pretty much, she talks a lot about the conservatorship, but then the Free Britney stuff starts to happen, from the outside, and she sees it all. And she's like, that actually really touched me when I read that. She's like, oh my gosh, people are seeing what's going on, because she felt so alone.
Yeah.
So helpless. And to have that. And then she says, which I was kind of a little bit confused on this, but she ends up calling 911 on her dad for conservator abuse. And that kind of starts everything.
Yeah.
But I was kind of confused about how, okay, so did you press a charge? You had a charge pressed against him or something? That one part I was confused. But then, obviously we saw all the court stuff. We
saw that all play out. Yeah.
But she gets out of the conservatorship.
She's with Sam.
Something. Yeah, she's with Sam. They have the miscarriage. The thing... She says something towards the end, and she says she believes that her family feels guilty. I don't at all. It's that felt, I was like, you really, I don't know how. I mean, it wasn't like a year. It was 13 years.
And
I don't
that's
think they
almost
feel
like,
guilty at all.
Okay, she puts it in there as like, oh, I said all these horrible things.
Right.
Let me just, Brittany, you got to put something in there just to kind of like lessen the blow. Okay. You know, like, I don't know if she even actually feels that way.
I know. I was really surprised that she put that in there. But I don't know. At the end, it just seemed like she just wants to be positive moving forward. She said she got to, like, go on vacation and ride jet skis again and, like, just do things on her own and, like, go out to whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
She just gets it. She didn't end up putting that much about the husband in there.
No, because I didn't get to quite the end of the book, but from what I
She probably took
had
some
heard, yeah, because this was clearly all finished before, because earlier in the book she said something about like, my husband Nassam said blah blah blah. So it's like, clearly you guys were still together,
right.
And then probably in post things were edited out.
Yeah, I definitely think so, because there was almost not like, you just know from, you know, the past couple of years that they were married or whatever. But she did talk about the wedding and said the wedding was real. Like, all that conspiracy stuff was like,
I don't know. There's still weird signs.
But she was just like, yeah, it was a really lovely wedding. But I almost wondered if there's like a different wedding, like just the two of them or something. I don't know.
So
says nothing about the guest list.
Feel like there's a veil over things.
Yeah.
Like things still, and it could just be our conspiracy theorist minds collectively as a society, but things just still feel a little off, you know?
They do, and I don't know, like, I guess I don't know how anything could be normal after what everything she went through, but I do it's like, I don't feel like the book gave me much insight into anything, like, any more into, like, just, like, the modern times stuff.
Right, and it's just a weird juxtaposition, because we read this book, and, you know, if I just had this book isolated on its own, I might feel a little bit differently, but I also have it coupled with her Instagram.
Right.
And things are wild on there, you know?
They are. And she, like, again, in the book, she, like, kind of was like, yeah, I like to show off my clothes, and I know I have sucky style. It's like, that's not really what you're doing right now. And she doesn't address at all, like, when she was making those TikToks, and people were like, wear purple if you're in trouble. Yeah. And she's freaking wearing purple. I mean, I'm sure there was probably stuff she couldn't, like, I don't know, maybe some legal stuff was going on that she can't talk about, but it was like,
but even like, you know, with her captions on things, her captions, I just saw one today that was just totally off the wall, bizarre, and it didn't even make sense, you know, and that, it, like, genuinely, like, I don't even want to, like, have this be taken in any way other than, like, the way I'm meaning it. Like, it is concerning. Like, I am still concerned for her, because I don't know if she's getting the real help that she needs, and I don't know what supports that she has.
Right, exactly. Like, does she have a good financial advisor? Does she? I mean, she doesn't have her husband anymore. It's like, does she have good people surrounding her? I mean, she has never had any support ever in her life. Right. So it's like, and even now, it's like, we don't really know if she gets to see the kids.
I know. And that's what's kind of crazy too. She kind of like talked about it on Instagram before the book, but with her kids, like, not liking that she will post like naked or semi-naked things on Instagram.
Oh, and she did say something about like posting naked stuff. She's like, I know it's weird to people, but like, I just get to do it now. Like, I have the freedom.
Like, I like that. But I just felt like that seemed a little odd, where like the reason why we kind of like got into everything to begin with was because you were so distraught about not being able to see your kids. Right. And now I know there's a lot of other things with like K-Fed and stuff, but it's like one of the
big things that the kids publicly had like expressed was that they weren't comfortable with what you're doing on Instagram.
Right.
And she was kind of like, oh, well, you know, like I don't, and not that that's the only thing that,
Right.
but it was just kind of like, but why can't you see how that would be really uncomfortable for teenage boys?
It's like she's so disconnected from reality, and I don't know how she can
come back
into reality,
Yeah.
and if she ever even had like a true connection to like real life.
I know,
her
like
whole
really
life.
from the beginning. Yeah,
because it was just such a weird family dynamic. It's just, I don't know how anyone could be like mentally
sound.
Yeah. After all this.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I do just hope she's like able to get the help she needs and be surrounded by people that really care about her and want good things for her.
Right, I know. I don't know. This book didn't necessarily like ease my fears.
I know. And actually, and even though she doesn't give like intense details, it really was like, because if you're thinking about a conservatorship for 13 years and we have like maybe 200 pages in here with all the spacing.
Yeah, it was
blank pages.
Yeah.
And like it's almost inconceivable what she must have gone through. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know how you come back from that. I don't feel like good about it, I guess.
I don't either. Yeah, it feels grimy. It's just
awful.
And
I don't know.
And just like everything is so terrible, but then there's just still something that I don't think that we're getting. We don't have the full picture. Something still seems off. There's still
like, this almost feels like this is all I'm illegally allowed to say.
Yeah.
But we don't have any other, like, I don't know, context. And like, do I think she's maybe what has always been kind of quirky? Yeah, probably. But.
Yeah. But this is another level. And even like, the cover. I mean, this isn't a recent photo of Britney Spears, if that's Britney Spears at all.
Like,
I
know. I thought that was an interesting choice too. Like, and not to like dissect it. I like the black and the pink. Like, I think that's really sweet.
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember if I told you this. I was hoping to have like some really like
pictures.
Yeah, rare pictures in here, but that's fine. There's plenty of Britney picture books.
Yeah.
But I do think that's interesting. And I was thinking too. Oh, wait. I'm looking at this. She does have that intense eyeliner. Because I was trying to think of, like, she looks good now, but she looks, like, she doesn't look old or anything. But something is, like, very off about, like, the eyeliner. The hair's not, like, the best or most flattering that she ever had. Like, when she had that blonde hair color,
that was nice,
so beautiful, and she was like younger and
just
stuff.
The horrible extensions.
I know that she just like
doesn't really take care of that well.
And then like the eyeliner, that's just so good. Like, to me,
this eyeliner looks good.
I know, but it makes more sense why she's like, wow, I look really hot there, I'm gonna do my eyeliner like that now. But that's not what her eyeliner looks like. And that part always just like, I'm like, I don't get the eyeliner.
How it's always so intense.
It's like,
and how she just almost like woke up and
and
put more on and then did her twirls.
I don't think it ever came up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unsettling. The whole thing is just unsettling.
I almost kind of wish like I didn't know what I know in the book now. I wish I could have been in a fantasy land
that everything's fine. Britney's fine. And I don't think that Britney necessarily needed to be in a conservatorship. I think that there should have been other things done. Yeah. Do I think that at that time she probably needed help with her finances? Yes. Do I think that she was in a sound mental capacity to be able to handle everything going on in her life? No, I don't. Like, and being at her stature of celebrity, you know, maybe she did need someone to step in. It shouldn't have been her dad, for sure, but it didn't need to go on for 13 years. No, she needed some intense therapy and some proper medication.
Yes, and like really healing. I did, not to like go off on a thing, but I did find it interesting. She didn't talk a lot about numbers, but the money she must have been making must have been like inconceivable for people, because she just did a little bit for people, everybody to be making like $500,000 plus, and it's like, how much money is this woman like?
I know. And she said at one point, like, my dad was making $16,000 a month plus, you know, these other things that he was making money off of, and plus he was paying other people on the team, you know, so much more. So it's just like the money coming in was just,
I know, insane. I mean, it had to have been. She probably doesn't even know how much freaking money she was making.
Well, she wouldn't. I mean, they definitely wouldn't have clued her in on that. Yeah, I guess to kind of wrap it up and to like walk away from the book for now, I don't know. I just have such like weird feelings about it.
I know. I'm excited to like hear other people's opinions on it, because I've been avoiding it so much. Like, I want to hear what other people thought, if they thought the same thing, or if they...
And she says there's another part coming, so I don't know when that will happen, if it will happen. But yeah, I would hope it would be more about the career. Or maybe she has to wait, like you said, maybe she needs to wait a certain amount of time for like an NDA or stuff with the legal case to be done. Yeah,
we can
maybe
really get the
interesting,
but
so
yeah. I mean, it wasn't a bad book. It just there's a lot missing. I definitely think if you're interested in Britney Spears, you'll like this.
I think this should be a recommendation.
Yeah, let's do that. Go ahead, read it. Let us know what you think.
Yeah,
what did
I
you
would
think
love
of
to
the
know.
Britney? Were you a Britney stan back in the day? Did you just start liking her after the Free Britney?
But also, so many people I know have just read these headlines and read like the little clickbaity things, and I would really encourage someone to actually read more than that. And to like get the book, audiobook.
Hear what she actually says about it versus like just not the full picture. Yeah,
it's quite different.
It is.
You know, so yeah, I would recommend that you pick up a copy of this or listen to Michelle Williams.
I know, I do at some point want to at least listen to a little bit of it.
I know, me too.
Hear it in that way, but...
All right, well, are we ready to wrap up the app?
It's probably long, but
4-hour episode. But yeah, make sure to follow us on our socials. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, and then don't forget to find us on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere else where you listen to podcasts. Yep. Please follow us. Please give us 5-star reviews.
Please.
And nice comments about us. Yeah. That would be appreciated.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.